Reverend Stachelle Bussey, where I live, in my head. No, Louisville, Kentucky.
Tell me about growing up. Tell me about your childhood.
You know, it was the projects, right? Tight, close-knit villages. Everybody went to the same church, not particularly the same school, but like everybody went to the same church, lived in, you know, the same spaces. And yeah, that was a community, you know, fish fries and donut sales and being in church a lot. And, yeah, that was community. That was, you know, the village.
What is faith for you today? What does that mean?
Man, from what it was, I remember being like 15 years old. And I had this, back then it was a question. Like now, the older I get, I know it's a conviction. Like, if that God, or like whatever God we talk about, if God is all-knowing, all-powerful, if God is a provider, if God is all these things, like why the hell are people poor? Or like why are people dying? Or why do we tithe and give our money? Or like why are we taught this principle of giving our money to church? I'm like 15 years old at this point, right? I'm not supposed to be asking these questions. Like, it was like the culture is like, no, give, you know, and then God will give back. Or like if you tithe and if you're a good steward over your money, like this is how you steward your money, like you give to the church. And a lot of people, you know, including my own family, like would give, like would meet these requirements of tithing, right, of financially giving, which I'm not opposed to. But it was like almost giving to a deficit and a detriment. And so it was almost this concept like giving into something. It, like church almost felt like a lottery, right? Like the more you give, the more God will give back to you, or the more like you have to be ultimately like you have to be so deep in this and you know you gotta, and then you know, so it's like it was. I had questions, right? I knew that. I understood that I had questions. I understood that I was different. I understood that I felt very, very different about God. And I wanted to know more about this God because it was not connecting. Like, if God is a provider and then we're required to give all of our money and our first fruits or whatever these things are, right? The fancy taglines. Like, if we're required to do this, then, like, why are you giving to God? And then, like, we don't have LGNE. Something's wrong here. And so I lived with that conviction for my entire life. I think I was validated very, very young, like, you're different. And it wasn't in a, like, I was different in the bad, like, the way I dressed or the way I talked, like, my voice is just the way it is, right? And I was also, like, a drummer. Like, I'm a female, you know, so it was, like, common to be, so, like, 7 years old, like, I learned how to play the drums. I'm a musician. I become a, you know, like, I become a musician in the church, which is at the time, you know, so, like, this is, I have a couple different, like, moments, but I think all those moments is, like, was moments of, like, validation, but like almost like in parallel with viciousness. And I had a few different people in my life who validated like, you are different, right? Younger hearing like, you are different, but you're powerful, or you're different, you know, or if you talk back too much. You know, you see the things on Facebook like, where's all the people who got like talk back too much or talk too much on their report? So those kind of things are. So I came to seminary thinking I was gonna get trained to be something very, very different. And then I got a shock of my lifetime. I came here, I wanted these people to tell me what to think. And they didn't do that. Instead, what they did was like, no, you have to learn how to be comfortable with you, like, and who you are. And we're not gonna tell you what to think. We're gonna actually give you tools to work out what it is you believe, to form your theology about who God is and who you are to God and how, you know, your role is important. Like, you figure it out. So here's all the tools, right? I struggle with that, right? I was reading Hebrew, like, so all of a sudden I'm getting this education. I'm like, this is not what I came here for. I didn't actually come here to get, you know, like I came here to be, you know, a better, or I think I'm supposed to be better, but that's completely what the seminary experience wasn't. It was the complete opposite. It made me a better individual. It gave me the tools. It gave me a conviction. It gave me a platform, right? then gave me the ability to articulate what I believed and to actually challenge, and then it challenged me to live that out. So what I believe today is that Jesus was away from all the religious-y stuff. I think Jesus' purpose was to upset every system that was keeping people oppressed. And when people talk about, like, you know, the cute breaks, like, what would Jesus, all these other things, like, I see Jesus as just, like, revolutionary, right? Like, as not this soft guy, like, blind hair. Like, that's not what I see. I see a guy who's, like, these systems are effed up, right? Like, he couldn't ignore it, right? Like, as a spiritual person, you cannot look at a system. You cannot look at things that are, you cannot look at manipulation. You cannot look at these things that are happening. You don't look at oppression and turn your head. Like, you look at oppression and you do something about it. You do something about the system. Jesus literally disrupted systems because power wins with systems, right? Like, Jesus upset power systems who, like, actually think they have power, right? Like, and so I think, like, that's who Jesus is, right? That's my conviction. I'm here to upset every system that keeps people thinking that they're less than, that they're other, right? Because that's what systems do. They other people, right? They other the hell out of people. Like, if you're not this, if you don't have the American family, if you don't have this look, if you don't have this, then you don't belong somehow, right? So I came here, like Jesus' job was to say, everybody belongs, right? Everybody, like, Jesus comes and he removes the red tape, right? And how does he remove the red tape? Like, he moves in his own way. He doesn't try to go have huge conversations with people who was in charge. Like, if somebody's blind and he has the resources to make them see, you know what Jesus does? He doesn't call a meeting. He just makes them see. So that's what it was. Like, I came into the Hope Bus, like, saying, like, how do I meet the needs of the people? Like, what are the needs? But rather than just putting some generalized thing together, how do we meet the needs of people, right? So Newman talks about that. Like, are people in emergencies? Are they what are they actually, like, what level are they in, right? And our goal is to make people sustainable, right? Not that they keep coming back over and over. Like, that's not helping. So yeah, like, don't enable people, right? Like, so yeah, like, that's, so I'm like, I don't want to do a traditional church internship. I want to do something different. And so I do an internship at a particular church that is a traditional church, but they don't actually do traditional church. They have food in the clothes pantry and the clothes closet. So getting to see things, like, not that I didn't know they existed, but to actually see the back end of it and the working of it. So I'm like, okay. And so, yeah, I'm like, well, let's just give people what they need. And the best way to give people what they need is you ask them, right? So my whole goal, like, with the Hope Bus was to, how do we bring, with all my experiences at this point, because I had tried a lot. I was a social worker, right? I'm educated, very well educated. I was a social worker. I worked in the school system, worked for government, worked for school, worked in church, hated all of it. How do I get all of these, like, how do I create something that gets these three systems talking? How do I build a pool where everybody can jump in and that ultimately, like, helps build the community? My message is about hope. Hope is not cute. We romanticize it a lot. And that's why I started the Hope Bus, because I want to take the cuteness out of it. What I want to tell people that hope isn't cute. Hope in my community, for people who look like me, is sometimes deciding which choice is harder, even though they're both hard choices. That I want people to stop, looking at hope as this, like, it's just something that you can have. No, it's gritty. It's grief. It's am I gonna get milk or am I gonna get gas? I don't want people to romanticize hope. I want people to stop doing that, acting like that's something that you can just give. Nah, it's not that. Like, we are looking at a society where hopelessness like has infected everything that we do, because people romanticize it, and when it's not good, then it's not hopeful. But that's not true. Actually, hope is like one hard choice after the other. Hope is working until it materializes, right? Like in people, we are how it materializes. God, right? I love interfaith and everything, but God wants us to be in community. It doesn't matter who you. It doesn't matter if it's boot. I don't care about any of that. Like none of our at the end of the day, right? God wants people to live fully loved, fully known, right? Comfortable, not oppressed. He wants people to be free, to be who they are, right? And so that's what I want to tell people. Hope isn't cute. Don't romanticize it. It's making one hard choice after the next hard choice, and then having just a little bit of light left, having the one thing that is your light that says, today, instead of selling drugs, I'm gonna actually try to get on the bus and get a job. Something different, because I want to be here for my kids.